Thank you so much for having us. Technology for good is such a huge topic, and technology in general is such a huge topic and so important, so timely. And I would argue, someone earlier said that, you know, we all are entrepreneurs, and I would argue that we all are, these days, are tech entrepreneurs, because tech is such an important part of all of our lives and all of the work that we do, and even, you know, outside of work, just sort of the way that we live our lives. That said, you know, when we talk about women in tech, it's a subject that sometimes is very fraught. It's a subject that comes up in the news a lot, you know, barriers to entry, sort of who's at the top, how did they get there, what are the decisions they're making, why are there not more women at the top? The four women here are incredible. We have a really cool mix of educators and entrepreneurs, so I think we can kind of look at what's going on in the tech space through both of those lenses and talk about, you know, education and entrepreneurship. So I will let each of you guys introduce yourselves, and then we'll just kind of get rolling. So, Sana.
Thank you, Sarah, for organizing the panel. Thanks to everybody for coming and staying until the end of the day and listening to us. My name is Sana Odeh, and I'm a professor of computer science at New York University. I'm also a global liaison for computer science for the Global University. A few years ago, I went to Abu Dhabi with NYU to start the computer science department for NYU Abu Dhabi. I also started 3 conferences on women computing in the Arab world, and I set up the International Hackathon for social good in the Arab world as well. And thank you. And I also, I just actually came today from organizing, along with Google and Princeton University, a conference on computer science and engineering for 200 high school girls, 9th and 10th graders. And we teach them computer science and engineering. Right now, they're actually building towers from pasta and gumdrops, and the tallest towers, they get prizes. So it's really great, the energy around technology now and the computer science globally. So I'm really excited to be here and to share that with you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Tang, and I'm from Melbourne, Australia, so fair way away. And I am the co-founder of Set Innovations and the creator of iNemia, which our team won the Microsoft Imagine Cup for. So iNemia is a non-invasive screening tool for anemia, which is as simple as taking a selfie. So you pull down your eye, take a photo, and it can identify your risk of anemia. I'm also a final year medical student and graduating on December 16th, so nearly done.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lisa Miller. I'm the Chief Growth Officer for the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, also pronounced NIFTY. I am incredibly excited to be here and to talk about girls, tech, science, entrepreneurship. Besides the fact that I have 2 daughters, my professional career started about 20 years ago teaching high school science. I then went and got a master's in neuroscience, and am now at NIFTY, where we teach middle school and high school students entrepreneurship education, and we serve about 70,000 students a year across the world, so I feel like it's all come full circle right here today.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Lowe, and I am the CEO and founder of a website called piggybacker.com. We're the only crowdfunding site that is safe and instructional for kids of all ages, ranging from kindergarten to college. And since being around, we've helped teams and communities in all 50 states raise millions of dollars for their schools, their nonprofits, their causes, their business ideas even, and kind of trying to move the candy bar cookie dough model online so that they can scale their impact. And my life's passion is empowering the next generation to become entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and leaders. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I want to start, you know, we think about technology for good. There's kind of so many ways that we can take the conversation. But I want to think about it, for now at least, as a start, as technology really is the ultimate enabler. And so, Jennifer and Andrea, since you are both entrepreneurs, and tech is kind of a really important part of what you do, as it is for all of us, sort of how has technology enabled your own, kind of the creation of your own venture, and how do you use it in your lives? So, Jennifer, do you want to start since you're closer?
So I guess I'll start with the story of where we thought of the idea. So I love rural and remote medicine. So most of my hospital placements have been in rural areas of Australia. So the place where I thought of this was 6.5 hours straight drive north of Melbourne. So when we went there, our team saw that anemia was a problem. In fact, worldwide, there are 2 billion people who suffer from anemia, and still today, 20% of maternal deaths are due to anemia. But the thing that I found was, I was doing my women's obstetrics rotation at this time, and I was seeing women who were 36 weeks pregnant needing to travel 2.5 hours to go in and get a blood test. I just thought, I could see these women were exhausted. Sometimes they had 2 or 3 children, and unfortunately, a lot of the time, these women were just too tired and they just didn't come. And as a result of that, you could see impacts during childbirth and afterwards as well. So from there, we thought, I code on the side as a hobby. I learned it during med school on the side and decided to combine tech with medicine to create a simple solution, something that was non-invasive that people could use in their homes. And the other thing as well is we knew that this would be useful in low-resource environments. So our solution also works on your Nokia feature phones. So you can take a photo and send a text message and get back your risk of anemia. So that's how I've combined my 2 passions, tech and med, to create this.
And I think the simplicity part of it is so key. Andrea.
Sorry. I think that it's really important to make something that's intuitive. Smartphones, so who in here has a phone with them? Everyone. People are used to using their phone, and now selfies, I think there are 1 million selfies taken every single day. So people are getting used to taking selfies. So making something that's intuitive is also really, really key to integrating the 2.
For me, the problem that I saw started when I have a much younger sister. I also look very young, but she was 11 years old at the time, and she wanted to raise money for a nonprofit. And she was thinking of going door to door. And being the older sister and seeing how tech savvy they all are, I encouraged her to use technology to scale her impact and reach more people. And as a result, she was able to raise several $100s. But seeing her through that process and what technology enabled her to do was that she truly felt empowered. And so I was like, wow, this is not only a lot of kids' first instance with money, but an incredibly educational experience for a kid to learn how to fundraise and realize that they can make an impact. And at the same time, I saw that crowdfunding was democratizing financing for entrepreneurs, for nonprofits, and all kinds of other folks, but had not spread to schools and communities that needed it the most, who literally there's no money. They're still selling candy bars. And so started out trying to teach kids how to fundraise online, and took all of those learnings and built it into the technology so that it was gamified using text notifications, time-based notifications, so that I could take the learnings that I learned over 2 years, built it into technology so that we could spread it to everyone else. So technology has definitely enabled a lot for what I've been doing.
And Sana and Lisa, you both are educators. So you're using technology, you're enabled by technology in a different way, and also using technology, to enable many others. So I'm wondering, sort of, you can talk a little bit about both the opportunities that you see for your students and and the groups that you work with, and also some of the barriers to entry.
I think it's a really exciting time to be in computer science. I think my students are really lucky. So that's a great opportunity, because if you look at the top companies, in terms of success, finances, in every way, technology is at the center front. And then also, if you think about the millions of jobs will be created in the future, it's all related to technology. And also in terms of the money and in terms of the ability to be able to actually dream about what you want to do. And it's very empowering, and I tell my students that all the time. So, for example, you were able to combine medicine and technology together to really innovate and also to save people's life in many ways. So in this field, not only that you can be successful, you can be empowered, it's a creative and innovative field, but it's also a field that can really change the world in a way. And then, I'm around students all the time now that, if maybe their mom has a specific issue and they want to solve that issue in their household, they want to save that issue, solve an issue for their community. And that's where there are many hackathons now. I actually developed the first hackathon for social good in the Arab world. And I bring together international students from here and international students from the Arab world. Also, they come together for 3 days and they solve problems related to health, education, technology, travel. And it's beautiful, the type of application they come up with, and they all can be prototyped. And I bring a venture capitalist, and some of them are being actually worked on as entrepreneur ventures and the makeup is international. So that's really tremendous effort and energy in computer science, and I think technology is really exciting for the students. So that's in terms of the opportunity. But I think there is, in the States and Europe, there is a drawback, unfortunately, in terms of women in this field. So it seems that there is a perception that women are not good for this field, and that's really felt, that perception, at a young age. So unfortunately, in the 80s, women were in computer science around 40%, and it was the promising field in science. But now, unfortunately, it's about, it's really a dismal rate of 10%. Although the top schools are really trying hard, there is Harvey Mudd, Stanford, Berkeley, now it's about 40%, and they're really putting a lot of money into basically bringing computer scientists, women, into the field. And that's why I'm doing this event at NYU. And that started at a young age. For example, research is showing that young girls outperform and do really well in math tests, for example, and science tests. But you ask them when they're in middle school, are you good in math or science? And they'll say no. So it's basically a perception. So unfortunately, we suffer from that. People think that computer science and technology is a man's field where there is a heavyweight man sitting behind a computer and looking at pornography. And it's really sad that this is really not the picture, because this is not the international pattern. Like, for example, in the Arab world, where when I went from here to Abu Dhabi and I talked to a lot of people around, what I was astonished to see is the percentages of women in computer science and engineering. In Saudi Arabia and the UAE, it's about 90%. And women are dominating these fields, and they're doing amazing initiatives. For example, entrepreneurship rate also in the Arab world is really high, and one of the highest in the world, or in Malaysia, for example. So in Jordan is about 35% are entrepreneurs. 40% of women in the Arab world winning competition, of people winning competition, and I'm saying, hundreds of thousands of dollars for entrepreneurial competitions are women. So that just shows us that it's really a perception, it's a social thing, and it's really unfortunate that here in the States and in some countries in Europe that we do have that perception, and we echo it. We are the ones that play into this hand and say that this field is basically a man's field in a way. The media propagates this. And I think we really have to be careful about this, because that means that if millions of jobs in the future will be about technology, that innovation, we know it has to do with technology. So if women are not part of this field, that means that we are not part of the innovation. We are not really having an impact. We are not really allowing our daughters, allowing our sisters to be powerful, because technology is really about innovation. So we have to be careful, and we need to make sure that we, whether it's educators or just regular, in any profession, that technology is part of any profession. And we need our daughters to really be part of this field, because, there is a different perception. Everybody comes with a different priority, and women have a different priority in terms of, for example, if they enhance technology, if they use technology, they'll save problems related to their community. They'll look at their priority and they'll apply it. So that's why it's really important for all of us to really emphasize that this is an important field and we need everybody to be part of it.
Definitely. And Lisa, you and I talked a little bit about the entrepreneurial mindset, in this, and you work, both here and in countries around the world. So.
Yeah, well, at Nifty, we believe that entrepreneurship education transforms lives. We've seen it happen in the young people that we work with. And really, the philosophy or our mission is to work with young people from low-income communities and use entrepreneurship as the tool to help them envision a more successful future. And it makes the core content that they're learning in school more relevant. And we do that by triggering this entrepreneurial mindset. And we see two sides to that. We want them to go out and start businesses. That's wonderful. And we know that about 20% of our young people actually do go out and launch businesses that then employ other people. The average number of employees is about 4. So they're contributing to their economies. They're creating real jobs. The other 80 or so percent, because they now think like entrepreneurs and they have this entrepreneurial mindset, go out into other organizations within other companies, but they have the ability to think like entrepreneurs and lead new initiatives and create innovation within organizations. So we really believe in this entrepreneurial mindset, and we do it through an in-school model where we are training teachers on our curriculum and our content, and they deliver the content so that at the end of the year, students create a business plan, and they compete with this business plan and pitch their ideas to judges that ask them really probing questions. So over the last several years, we've begun to see the trends in technology as well, and had created a program called GenTech, which taught students basic knowledge with HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and they created web-based businesses solving issues that they see in their own world and in their own communities. And then they had to pitch those business plans to judges. And finalists pitched for Union Square Ventures and had the opportunity to win seed capital. So they're really seeing how this connection between entrepreneurship and technology can change their communities, but actually present a future for them as well. This year, we started focusing really on girls because we saw the opportunity for girls. We have a partnership with MasterCard where we do a Girls Innovation Day. It's a full day where we bring in women, successful women entrepreneurs, successful women in technology that work with the young girls to develop business concepts that are innovative and creative. We also have a partnership with Microsoft that we're very proud of and very thankful for, where Microsoft, through their Youth Spark initiative, has sponsored the GenTech program. We've served about 300 students through that program over the course of the last 3 years, and have also developed an in-class program called Startup Tech that's also sponsored by Microsoft, where we are serving 7 schools in New York City and about another 350 girls.
It's amazing. I mean, it really is. And Jennifer and Andrea, you are, closer to your educations, than some of us. And so I wonder if you can talk a little bit about kind of your own, process of kind of coming into the workforce as you are and as you have, and how the fact that you are a woman has, first, if it's held you back or if it's kind of colored your experience, and if so, how?
So in terms of learning how to code, it was all through online courses and videos online. I think one way to get people involved is to make it fun. And as Sana was saying, challenges there really, and being able to solve them is something that's exciting. Other things available, such as the Microsoft Imagine Cup, which pretty much got me here, as part of the Youth Spark initiative, was amazing. So I initially started this just thinking, I see a problem, I want to solve it. That was it. To be honest, I hadn't really thought about the business end of things. But through the competition and through different challenges, I learned that in order to make long-lasting change, it's important to be self-sustaining. And that's something that I've learned from this experience as well, and why it's so important to think about all aspects when doing technology. I think that, as Sana said before as well, we're in a stage now where computer science, it's gone up and then it went down. We need to make this attractive for people. We need to make young girls in school understand how fun it is and how technology is actually ubiquitous. A lot of women may not actually think they're doing technology, but in fact are. And that's something that I've learned as well, so yeah.
If I could just add to that, I think exposure is so key, and I think that's what I think of when you talk about the challenge. And we have a young lady named Karishma who had a cousin who was getting a job at a tech company and was talking to her, and she didn't know anything about tech. And she just thought on a whim, I'll sign up for this Gen Tech thing. She had no idea what it was. She did the Gen Tech camp, fell in love with coding, ended up getting an internship with Microsoft, is in her senior year of high school now, created an app that's functioning that she's now heading up, and is going off to college to major in computer science and marketing, where, you know, just a few years ago, she didn't even know this world existed. So I think those types of activities and exposure are really important when we talk about getting girls interested in tech.
For me, I can echo a lot of what the panel said. I grew up in the backyard of Apple computers in Silicon Valley, and I never realized that entrepreneurship was even an option. To me, it was a bunch of dudes with semiconductors and chips. My stepdad worked at one of those companies, and I started thinking I wasn't very good at math, and I didn't see the relevancy. It wasn't until 1 or 2 years out of college that I realized technology's potential to solve problems and to innovate. And that's when I was like, wow, like this is actually really interesting. And that's how I got into it. At that point, I had no background. I'd never worked with an engineer. And so all of my learning was really informal. It was through other entrepreneurs. It was also through a lot of these startup accelerator programs that have been popping up. I actually went through the Civic Accelerator that PwC announced this morning. And I went through one backed by ex-Googlers. And these, for those of you who are not familiar, have kind of become like the Harvard of entrepreneurship, where they take a percentage of equity from your company, give you a little bit of seed funding, and then go give you an intensive course, anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months, trying to prep you. But the biggest value add of that is learning from each other. And so just learned very informally a lot of what it was, but really started out just seeing a problem and being relentless in wanting to solve that, regardless if I had a background in coding or not. Like I made it. Because I had the will, I made it. So.
And could you talk about a little bit about your experience in these accelerators? You know, I don't know how many women were also kind of a part of these accelerators, and sort of what that was like.
So when I started getting into tech, I didn't realize I was in tech, and I didn't realize it was so gender unbalanced until I looked around the room. And in one of the first accelerators I was in, I was the only woman. And I found that a little bit intimidating, but I tried to use it to my advantage because I would stand out. But sometimes I did feel like I was taken a little bit less seriously. And so I would say that just the act of saying that you're woman-friendly really does attract more women, because they see these pictures or these news articles of just all men, and automatically it's just less friendly. And I think for us, just seeing role models, regardless of age, regardless of where they are in the startup growth from beginning to end, is really, really important to motivate other women to be like, she's only 25, I'm 24, I can see myself there next year.
Great, thank you so much. Yeah, there's this idea of, you know, we're talking all today about women's entrepreneurship, and we're talking now about kind of women who are tech entrepreneurs. So I want to ask each of you briefly, since woefully we don't have more time, to talk a little bit about, you know, whether you do or don't define yourself as a woman in tech, and sort of, or since we're running out of time, there's a global lens to this, a cultural lens to this. So, I want you to speak to that if it's relevant. So, sort of, when is it helpful or hurtful for you to define yourself as a, say, Sana, an Arab woman in tech?
I think it's a complicated question. So I think when I'm standing in the room, giving a computer science lecture, and then most of my 60 students in the room, most of them are men, it's obviously, everybody's thinking about, wow, there's a woman there, teaching computer science, and she's really great. This is for me very important, and they do say that to me, because it is a man field in some way. So there are only few women in this field. So for me as a person, I didn't really feel like I am in this field in a way as a minority. I don't really feel that, because I always felt I'm supported. I always felt like my colleagues are very respectful. I felt like I am a person. I don't really feel on an everyday day, I don't feel like I'm a woman in this field. And actually, I felt like maybe one of the things that maybe early on, I just learned to be assertive because I was among men in this field. And it just became like the way I functioned. And I was myself. I didn't have to be sort of changed to be, sort of like maybe, I just remained the same way I am, but I just was more assertive in a way. I have to say that I learned from men. I learned from the men around me to just be assertive. And, but I don't feel like I'm in the minority. I just feel like I'm part of the department, and I really feel my colleagues are very respectful. And I mean, I was giving out of 45 faculty, I was giving the responsibility to go set up a department and a different culture in a new, and it was, always in the news. It was, NYU Abu Dhabi, what are they doing out there? And I had to build the department. I had to do a lot of activities, and I had the support of the department. So I feel like I am here today, and I'm able to do global international activities because of the support of my department, which is mainly men. So I have to say that that's really worked for me. That doesn't mean that there isn't discrimination. That doesn't mean that there aren't problems. But from my experience, I feel like I'm a person. And then I also feel proud to be a woman when I see that I am a minority, that my students will never look at a woman and say she cannot do that, because I'm the person who is teaching them and empowering them and enabling them in this field. So for me, it's a pleasure, actually. It's a good thing.
That is great. Jen?
Well, I definitely consider myself a woman in tech, and I'm enjoying it and I love it. I guess one thing to add would be a lot of women believe that what I find is a barrier is a lot of people think that you need to code to be able to be involved in tech. And that's what a lot of people do think. However, I believe that the people who will make the best contributions to technology in the future will be those people who, in their respective fields, can identify what the problems are and create innovative solutions to them. That's pretty much.
So I think it's a really good question, because as women, I think we spend a lot of time trying to not be the woman in the room. But real talk, if you know me, I do real talk, and I think we're friends at the end of the day. My life has been largely defying other people's preconceived notions of me, whether it's because I'm black, whether it's because I'm a woman, whether it's because I look 22. So I'm always proving myself for one reason or another. And with two girls who I named Blake and Jordan, so no one would see them coming, I say embrace being a woman. I think we've heard today all the qualities and attributes that women bring to the table that men just can't. But be strong enough to deliver on what you say you can deliver on, and embrace being a woman.
For me, I'm very thankful for my parents for raising me to think that I can do whatever I want, regardless if I'm a woman or man. So I don't ever think about, because I'm a woman, I can't do this. And so I'm very thankful for that. I do identify strongly with being an entrepreneur. I don't think that much about being in tech or being a woman. But I definitely gravitate towards other strong women. And yeah.
Thank you so much to each of you and to Wendy and to all of you for having us. I just feel like this is, since the entrepreneurial mindset is important for all women, and I feel like that's hopefully one of the big takeaways for today. So thank you.